What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. We'll break down what's happening with the overall market thus far and some important levels to be watching for on Tesla moving forward. We'll break down what's happening with the economic calendar, what's going on with all these earnings and news for Tesla, what you should be watching for as we approach today. But before I break into the devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. You sign up for Weeble and deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. If you deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 of them. The offer ends very soon in just 6 days. Anyways, for Tesla right over here, you guys can see that this thing pushed up very nicely to about this 164 resistance. The real level that I've seen historically is very close to 165. That's where resistance tends to be very tight for Tesla. And if we break this, we could push much higher. If we fail to break this, Tesla's going to likely start retracing a bit. So I'm going to break down some important levels to watch for in the next couple of minutes. I first want to talk about this right here. Today is Wednesday, April 24th, and there isn't really a whole lot going on with the markets for today in terms of data. I'm not seeing anything too crazy. Later on at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, an hour after the market opens, we have the New York Fed Treasury purchases. Very, very minor data, won't really affect us that much. Then we have a bunch of bill auctions at 11:30 a.m., followed by the 5-year note auction at 1 p.m. All very minor data once again. For earnings, we do have something very important. For today, it's going to be Wednesday. We have Boeing and AT&T that just announced their earnings, and then later on we have Meta, IBM, and Ford also announcing their earnings. Meta is going to be the most important one, which will affect the whole market going into Thursday. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. For Boeing, they did better than expected. A lot of people were very worried about this quarter not being too good for them, but they did manage to narrow their losses, and supply chains are stabilizing a bit after all their hardships. So that's not too bad. They burned about $3.9 billion in the first quarter. That is beating the forecast. Wall Street was expecting $4.5 billion to be burnt. On top of this, their loss per share is $1.13. That is not as bad as expected. Revenues at 16.57 billion, better than expected overall. And moving forward for their guidance, it wasn't as bad as what they were expecting, essentially, despite the fact that revenue did dip a little bit. And that's part of why the share price is basically doing pretty well. So basically, the expectations were really bad for the company, but they did a little bit. They didn't do as bad. Basically, that's why the share price is up about 3%, even for their guidance moving forward. So that's part of why it's up the way it is. AT&T had good earnings as well, which is a good sign for the different sectors out there, especially communications. Revenue is at about 30 billion. That's a little bit below the 30.5 billion estimation right over here. Net income was at about 3.8 billion. That is meeting expectations. EPS was a little bit short at 47 cents per share, below what the adjusted EPS was at 55 cents as the expectation. So that is once again a little bit short of estimates. Their free cash flow increased significantly to about $3.1 billion, with other things looking pretty decent. Now, moving forward, revenues are still not the worst for them, but what else is coming out very importantly would be what we're seeing about the future. If anything, they're projecting an EPS of about $2.15 to $2.25 for the full year. That is actually very close to expectations, if not a little bit better. And they're still very optimistic about their financial guidance, which is why the share price is still doing relatively well. So their earnings were not the strongest, but guidance is pretty good, which is why the share price is up slightly. So that's not bad for them. As far as Tesla goes, they've unveiled the new Model 3 performance with a 0 to 60 time in 2.9 seconds. Very, very awesome stuff for Tesla. And there were a lot of prototypes about this. Now that they've unveiled the new Model 3 performance, they were talking about how that this was very important for their revamp. And when they ended up doing that, this is what slowed down some things for them. This led to more expenditures, but now things are in a better track for them. There's also talk right over here about how, there's still a lot of headlines about what Elon Musk said yesterday about how they may be selling their Optimus humanoid robot by next year. And then there's also a lot of talk about layoffs throughout Texas and also throughout California. Tesla lays off more than 3,300 Californian workers, and even more in Texas. So that's some big news that's been coming out. That has been affecting them at least to some extent. The share price currently is at this 160 area. We're going to be watching to see how well we try to hold here. If we lose the 200 EMA 158, if we lose 160, look at 158. If that fails us, we're going to be dropping all the way down to the mid 150s to 155. That's going to be our next support. Tesla is up quite a bit, so it wouldn't be surprising if that were to happen. But to be bullish, if you want to see this thing turn bullish, we need to see this thing try to break past 165. If we break past the 165s, Tesla has room to go all the way up to 168. Then I would say that if we get above that, 172 is going to be our next target, this 170 to 172 range if we break past 165. So it all depends on Tesla. Can we try to break or not? Ever since we hit the high yesterday, it hasn't been able to really break out yet. But I want to give this a little bit more time just to be safe. So make sure you watch that resistance just to be safe. On the 4 hour time frame, Tesla's kind of contracting just a little bit, but we have to give this a bit more time. We'll watch this 158 support that's very key at our 50 EMA. If we lose this, it will sink more. If we hold this, it could try to bounce. So far, watch your levels on Tesla and just be very, very mindful of this. We're still in a range right now. We have 158 as critical support and 165 as our resistance. Whichever way we break will determine which way Tesla goes, in my opinion. So break 165 and we could be easily pushing into the 170s. And if we lose 158, we're going to be looking for this to come all the way down to 155 and eventually 152. So just wait and see. We're losing a little momentum right now. Tesla's just kind of trading sideways. So give it some time and we'll watch which way it breaks. That's one of the big things about being a trader. We'll see what the reaction is so far. SPY is in the same boat, basically. This thing has struggled to break past 157. If you reject off 157, we're going to be retracing all the way down to 154. If that fails, let's watch 152, followed by 5. I'm sorry, did I say 152? I meant 504. If we lose 504, we'll watch 502. And if that fails us, then we're coming all the way down to 500. If we break past 507, we could be pushing all the way up to 509. It's going to be our next target if we do get a clean break and hold above 507. As of right now, SPY is trading sideways in the pre-market, so it's waiting to pick its direction. The market's being very patient, so give it some time and watch which way we break. Do we end up losing 504, the 504s to turn bearish, or do we break past 507 and turn bullish? Wait and see. We're seeing some signs of contractions, a little bearish divergence developing, but I'm going to be very patient just to be safe. The QQQ is looking like it's showing some signs of momentum shifting, but there's an issue with this. Right now, if the QQQ manages to break past 429, we're going to turn back to bullish, and this thing could easily push to 433 plus. Or if we end up losing support at 425, this will easily fall to the 423.5 to 422 area. If that fails, 420 is coming. So watch and see. Do we lose 425 and turn bearish, or do we end up breaking past 429 to turn bullish? We're just kind of stuck in a range right now on the QQQ, but it does look like it might turn a bit to me. It's actually showing a little bit of contraction, so just be careful with that. For NVIDIA, it's the same thing. If NVIDIA breaks, this is about 846. If we break past 845 to 846, we're going to start pushing all the way up into the 850, 860 area, basically. And if we end up losing support right over here at 834, we're going to be sinking all the way down to 827 and then 820 down here. So we have previous support, previous resistance becoming support right here to 825. That's going to get tested if we lose 830, and then even lower levels like that. We'll see which way we break. NVIDIA's looking like it might turn as well. So I'm seeing some signals that suggest the market could turn, but I'm going to be waiting very, very patiently. That's one lesson you learn in trading. You got to be very patient just to see how things develop. Aapl had a nice double bottom structure, but it is looking like it's retracing a bit. Watch 166. If you hold 166, we could bounce. If we lose 166, we turn back to bearish. We could retrace back down to 165. To turn bullish, you want to see it break 167.5 and start breaking out. This is looking like it's turning a little bit. So I'm seeing a little bit of weakness right now in the markets. So with that being said, let me just go over one or two more. For Amazon, yes, we're trying to push, but look at this range on Amazon. If we break past 181, we turn back to bullish. We could push for 180, the 182.5 area. If we lose support at 179.34, we're going to be dipping all the way down to 178 and eventually the 176s. We're in a range right now, so give Amazon some time. And then we also have Meta. Meta's trying to push right now, showing some strength compared to the markets. But we're at resistance at this 510 area. We called this level out yesterday. If we reject off here, we're going to be retracing to 500. If we break out past 510, we're going to easily push up towards 515. So be careful. We're at resistance on Meta, and we'll see what happens with its earnings. But I just wanted to call out these levels for everyone. All right. So that being said, thank you all so much for listening. Tesla is in a very, very strange place. We're in a range right now. We will see which way it breaks. So just as a reminder, if it loses 160, watch 158, that's going to be our critical support. Lose 158 and we turn bearish, and this thing starts sinking all the way down to the mid 150s, if not lower. And if we break past 162.5, look at this like 164 to 165 range. If we break past 165 specifically, we could push to 170 plus. So give this some time. We'll see how Tesla does, if it can break resistance or not, and that will determine which way we go. It's also going to have a big effect on the market. So just give the stock the time it needs, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you for listening, guys. Have a great day, and peace out.